This is B&R from Jane Sees the World. In this series, we are exploring AI to see how it can help us when we travel. For this video, we are going to discuss a very unfun part of travel, budgeting. We will use Microsoft Copilot to do some heavy lifting and compare the estimates Copilot gives us with a real-life expense sheet from a recent 7-night trip to Eastern Canada. How close do you think AI will get? Do you normally develop a budget for a trip?
No.
Was there ever a point where you developed a budget for a trip?
Yes. And to be fair, I do have a general idea of what I want to spend, and I can be a little thrifty. I just not super budget.
Conscious,
But
yeah.
yes. Okay, so for a few years ago, I wanted to go on a pretty big trip to Australia. It's a big country, had been on my bucket list for years. I wanted to go for a long time. I cleared that with my boss, but I knew it was going to be outside of my normal price range for trips because one, it's Australia and that place is expensive, and two, I was going to be there for a long time. So I was very budget conscious for that particular trip.
Okay, and how did you develop your budget? How'd you
Yeah.
figure out what you needed to save?
Yeah. The first thing I did was a lot of research in the average cost per day for Australia and multiply that by how many days you're going to be there. And that gives you a good baseline on how much money you're going to make or how much money you're going to need.
Yeah, I also don't meticulously budget.
That's why we're good travel buds.
Yes, but on our trip to Canada, I was rather scrupulous and I would write down everything that we spent or I spent. I wrote it down into a little note. And then yesterday I added everything up into, and I grouped them into different categories. And you would think that the flight would be the most expensive, but we did use an Alaska companion fare deal. So the airfare wasn't actually that expensive. What did get me though, the bulk of my spending was just on shopping. So going into a store and deciding I want that shirt or that sweater or that trinket or jewelry or whatever it is, I spent double on stuff than what I did on airfare. So that was a little bit eye-opening. I don't know if that's my normal MO because I haven't added it up, but I think I'll try and do that in the future and see if I have a trend. A very basic prompt in Copilot broke out a budget into categories: accommodation, transportation, food, and activities. I followed up with another question later to add flights. After a quick first night near the airport, we stayed in 3 other hotels. Silver Linings Inn in Cheticamp, Nova Scotia cost $305 for 2 nights. The next 2 nights were in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. This cost $378 and was most definitely haunted. We stayed the final 2 nights in Halifax at the downtown Hotel Halifax, which set us back $227. Our excursions were pretty limited because this place shuts down tight after the busy summer season. On the bright side, we didn't actually have to pay entrance fees to a lot of beaches and parks. We made sure to hit up the Skyline Trail, where we successfully avoided moose, and the Greenwich Dunes Trail, where we saw a very cool boardwalk that led out to the ocean. We did visit the Anne of Green Gables Park, which cost around $4 to get in, and a really cool outdoor spa that set us back $33 each. Food, Copilot estimated we could eat for $10 to $15 a meal, which was on the low end even for non-picky eaters like us. We couldn't get enough of the poutine. We did well on flights because we both had Alaska credit cards and could use a companion fare pass to get us to Toronto. From there, it was a pretty cheap flight to Halifax. I liked the follow-up questions Copilot offered, but I'm skeptical about the flights since most of the major airlines weren't on the list. Air Canada has some really old and small planes in its fleet, and for the quick flight from Toronto to Halifax, beware. We're tall, but we're not that tall.
So tight back here. Someone's touching the seat.
We reserved a car through Costco, and the nice kid at the rental agency gave us an upgrade to a Mustang. This seemed like a good idea, and we were able to take the top off a couple times, but there was a bit of snowstorm in the middle of the trip that wasn't super ideal for a convertible. Between the rental, gas, tolls, and parking, we spent around $510. The part where Copilot really missed the boat was by not suggesting a big budget for shopping. Sure, AI has no idea what kind of non-essential shoppers we are, but they could at least have added a token category for souvenirs. So how did Microsoft Copilot do when compared to my actual spending? After adjusting the costs B and I could split and trading half of my food budget for shopping, it actually did shockingly well. It was only around $100 difference. My takeaway from this experiment is that AI is a fast and efficient way to get a rough estimate of how much a trip is going to cost. You don't have to do a lot of research and math. I know I can lower or raise the estimates based on different things I value, and I will definitely use Copilot or a different engine in the future to help me know how much to budget for a trip. Subscribe to the channel and see how other AI engines were or were not successful for different aspects of travel planning. Happy adventures!